What's up guys, it's Bussian here coming at you with another Eve the Second Genesis starter deck analysis, and today we are looking at Minmatar. Indeed a nice pairing for the Amar deck. Amar is a lot more defensive, Minmatar is a lot more aggressive. It's a really nice pairing to have these two together, and of course naturally that's a good design. In the video game as well, they are competing factions. So let's start with what I've built this deck around, but again, as always, I will show you all the other potential customization options. So in my deck, I have really embraced the kamikaze and the ambush methods that this deck can do, and indeed that was something that was quite an issue as well during the tournament scene of this game back in 2007. Kamikaze ships could quite easily take the reign for a fairly little investment with boosts like the Frailty Tower, and when you upgrade your Starbase for the cost of 8, you get a 5 defense, 4 income base with the effect double all damage that ships deal to ships. Now this also has an impact on your opponent's ships, but if they got no ships left, then you have nothing to worry about. So there you go. That makes Frailty Tower a fairly good start for the deck. To kind of make this work, I've chosen Heaven, 2 cost plus 1 income, and you can have up to 4 locations here. When an enemy ship goes to the scrap heap from play anywhere, you gain 3 ISK. Very good source of income, especially if you're battling, and that's what we're planning to do in this deck. The second outer region we have is Sanchez Nation, 1 cost and 1 ISK a turn outer region. When you draw a card during your draw step, you may draw a card at random from your scrap heap instead, and then shuffle your scrap heap. The idea is that we are going to be reusing those ships that we sacrificed with Kamikaze. And finally we got the Tirijev Pocket. May not be the best choice. I'm still kind of thinking what would be the best third outer region, but I was going for something that's got a fairly high income. Costs us 4, but it gives us 3 income a turn. We can have 2 locations here. For 1 ISK, target ship cannot warp into this region until the end of the turn as long as you control this region. So we can stop some of the real problematic ships from coming over to the pocket. But as usual, highly customizable decks. We got 2 more towers, and the first one with the upgrade gives us the Liberty Tower. We do lose 1 income a turn. We keep the same defense. You can upgrade this during any player's end step, and all ships that went to your scrap heap from play this turn are returned back to your hand. This is also a fairly good option, and I used to have this deck kind of scheduled around the Liberty Tower, but once you see the light on Frailty Tower, it becomes an absolute powerhouse. And the third option is the Coercion Tower, a little bit extra defense, and we don't lose income. At the beginning of your turn, if one player has no ISK in their wallet, no cards in hand, and controls no outer regions, then he or she loses the game. So our usual alternate win condition Starbase. Other outer regions we have Scalding Pass. 3 cost brings 3 in 3 locations, but at the end of every turn, all of your ships in this region are destroyed unless you have an upgraded Starbase. This can be a good card. I can see this also working with the Frailty Tower, because obviously you will want to be upgrading that as soon as possible. Could be a nice possible replacement for the Tirijev Pocket. Frankly, the 8 upgrade cost is not too expensive, but then we could also pair this up with Molten Heath. It's not Molten Heath, my apologies. Which one is it? Yes, it is, yeah. 3 cost, 2 income, 5 locations. If you control this region at the beginning of your turn, the cost of upgrading your starbase is used by 1 for each location in this region. So that could be a nice little addition with Scalding Pass. If you're happy to give up any one of the other 3, I kind of like Sanchez Nation, so maybe we'd have to go and replace Heaven. Moon of Doria, 2 cost, and it can generate an income of X, which equals the number of ships in this region. Another good outer region to have. Then we have the Serpentis Prime, 2 cost, 1 income, 2 location. When you play a ship, you may place it fully assembled into this region. If the ship leaves this region, it is destroyed. Another very good one, Society of Conscious Thought. 4 investment, no extra income. Draw an extra card during your draw phase. A very heavy draw engine indeed if you get it out. The Canid Kingdom. 2 cost, 1 income, 3 locations. When an opponent wishes to activate a ship's command, he or she must pay you 2. If not, then the command cannot be activated. Another very useful card. But as usual, we've got 9 outer regions. Select any 3 of those, pair it up with the 1 star base you're going to run, and that will make up your, well, it will make up the main storyline for what your deck is trying to achieve. Let's now move on and focus on the locations. Almost, you could say, the main mana base of your deck. So as before, we saw this with Amar. We get 3 copies of Veldspar, a free location, but you can only play 1 limited card each turn, and it gives you +1 income a turn. A fantastic card, Veldspar indeed. We see 2 copies of Hemorphyte, again a limited location with an investment of 1, but it does almost immediately return the investment, and you can mine it for 1. When it comes into play, you gain 1 for each outer region you control. 2 copies of Sensuous Scout Outpost. 1 cost, generates 2 ISK a turn. If another location is played into this region, return Sensuous Outpost to its owner's hand. Again, a limited 1. And then, moving on, we got 2 copies of Interstellar Trade Post. Costs 1, generates X, which equals the number of regions you control. Yet again, a limited 1. Can't mine it. Then we got Plagio Class. 1 cost, generates 3, but you can only put it into an outer region. Nevertheless, a fantastic location. And then down to the one-offs, we have 1 of Remote Research Facility. Discard 2 cards, draw a card. You can only use this once per turn. Costs 2, generates 1, can be mined for 1. I'm going to move these cards down here. There's a bit of an extra. Well, let me see if we can. There you go. We can do something with that. I guess so. Not necessarily better. Let's play around with this a little bit. So it's very sunny outside today, so I had to draw the curtains, but that also means that with the lighting I have inside, it's not 100% ideal, but then again, it never really is. Anyway, there you go. So we got Remote Research Facility, nice little draw engine, especially for cards that you might not need. If you got loads of limited locations, you can't play them. Discard 2, draw a card. And then finally we got Echoes of Gloom Bay. 1 cost, 1 ISK. It generates a turn. Sacrifice Echoes of Gloom Bay, draw a card for each outer region you control in excess of target opponent. And again, it is a limited one. So we really are limited in the locations we play. Hence why you're probably well off choosing outer regions that already gives you a good amount of income to generate a turn. And then this deck only has 2 star-based structures. We get a Sentry Gun, which costs 3 and only gives us 1 extra shield. At the beginning of each battle phase, you may divide 2 damage between 1 or 2 enemy ships in this region. It's really nice to have as an extra defense, especially if we are, well, kamikazing our ships into other ships all the time. So that's a nice welcome addition. And also we have an early warning system, costs 4 and it gives us 2 shield, 2 defense, or 2 HP, however you want to call it. When an attack is made on your home region, you may warp 1 ship that you control from an outer region to your home region and inactivate any of that ship's commands. So that's just to bring something home. We got a few ships that can also do this for us as well. So that's star-based structures, locations. Let's go and take a look at the heart of the deck, which of course are the ships, or the units. Quite a few ships in this deck, thankfully, and we start with the kamikaze ships. So we got 2 copies of Slasher, 3 cost, it's a 3/1 unit. It also has Ambush 2 and Kamikaze 1, only an assembly of 1, so we can have that out fairly quickly. Then we got 2 copies of Probe, again 1 assembly, 4 cost is a 3/2 ship Kamikaze 1. This one has mining 2 as well. so we can use it early game to mine some extra resources. Later on, well, you're just going to send it. 2 copies of Breacher, 3 cost 1/1 ship with a kamikaze 2. Obviously, this is a good investment for us. 3 money for 2 damage, 3 money for 4 damage if you have your home base upgraded, your star base upgraded. So this is obviously a welcome card to keep getting back from the discard if we can with our outer region. 2 copies, and it doesn't need any assembly either, so it's a fantastic kamikaze ship. Rifter 5 cost 4/3, 1 assembly, kamikaze 2 and ambush 2. It can be used for ambushing, but if we feel like kamikazing in with this, then obviously we do have that option. 2 copies of Reaper. Moving on to just the ambush units now. And we've got Reaper being a 1 cost 0/1, doesn't require any assembly. Fantastic card. Mining 1, ambush 1. A nice little multi-purpose unit, but it doesn't cost us much either. 2 copies of Burst. 2 cost 1/1, 1 assembly. Ambush 3, however, which is really, really strong for a 2 cost unit, especially. We have Rupture, which does require 2 assemblies, costs 10, it's a 7/5, it's an absolute beast, and it does have ambush 5, but it also has a specific special ability or special effect. When you choose a target for Rupture during a target step, so when you normally attack, you may instead choose any number of legal targets and divide the damage among them any way you choose. So you can take out multiple ships at a time, which is fantastic, of course. And for a 10 cost unit, we would like to see something powerful as that. Hoarder is a 4 cost 0/4, trade 3. So you just want to send this guy out and generate money with it. Again, we talked about the limited cards, most of our locations being limited, so nice to have something like Hoarder, especially early game, bring us extra pesos. And then we've got Cyclone, which is an absolute beast, 7 cost 10/5, however 2 assembly. However, Cyclone gets -2, -1 for each enemy ship that has targeted it this turn. So the more ships targeted, the more it gets overwhelmed, the worse it becomes. But it's still a big ship. And also, if you can hit for 20, I kid you not, 20, if you have your upgraded star base, then this immediately becomes a worthwhile ship to consider for your deck. Finally, we got Thresher. 8 cost, 1 assembly, 5/4 unit. For 2 ISK, Thresher deals 1 damage to a target enemy scout or frigate in this region. Again, that again becomes 2 if you got your starbase upgraded. So a lot of damage output in this deck. As I said in the beginning as well during the introduction, this deck is absolutely geared towards just attack, 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 deal damage, bring them back from your scrap pile, bring them back from your discard pile, and then more attack, more attack, more attack. That's especially great for ships like Hoarder, Reaper, Breacher that doesn't require any assembly whatsoever to get them out on the field again. This is a lot like my playstyle. I do like the offensive kind of decks that kind of have an aggro build, but you still have to consider obviously leaving units in the main star base to defend it if you need to. Moving on to news, we got 2 copies of Mind Control for the cost of X, destroy target news, where X is its printed price, so it's nice to have some form of a removal. Albeit only against news, it can still be useful. 2 copies of Gravity Storm, cost of 6, destroy target starbase structure. This can be nice, especially when we're going in for that final kill against our opponent. 2 copies of Adastor's Disaster, 3 cost news. Adastor's Disaster deals 3 damage to target ship. Fantastic card to have, nice little removal, and you only get access to this card if you are running Minmatar. Unfortunately not affected by our starbase because that only doubles the ship damage that we put out. 2 copies of the Mandator, 4 cost news. Defending ships in target region cannot withdraw until end of turn. Gives us the opportunity to kamikaze into them. Move that down here so it's not that glary. And then we got a copy of Guerrilla Warfare, 2 cost, 2 duration. Choose a target ship. In duration 2, the chosen ship gets +2 defense. In duration 1, the chosen ship gets +1 attack. And then for a cost of X, Remnants of Vak Aitoth, duration 2, this card deals X damage to target enemy ship. Duration 1, the control of that ship may draw 2 cards. So you kind of want to make sure that you destroy it with your first, in the turn when you play this card, really. And we got 1 copy of Armageddon Project, destroy target location. Quite expensive for a cost of 4, but you know, sometimes it can be super useful to have it nevertheless. So this is the Minmatar starter deck. Again, very customizable, a lot of fun if you like to deal a lot of damage and then bring your ships back from the discard pile. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Leave a massive like, leave a comment below, and watch the Omar video as well if you haven't yet. Peace out, YouTube.